Imagine London in the roaring 20s. The stock market is booming, fortunes are being made overnight, and at the center of it all is a charismatic financier named Clarence Hatry. He was the man with the Midas touch, a self-made millionaire who built a vast empire seemingly out of thin air. But behind the glitz and glamour, a secret was brewing, a secret that would bring the London Stock Exchange to its knees and send shockwaves across the globe. This is the story of the Hatry Group, one of the most audacious financial frauds in history. Clarence Charles Hatry wasn't born into wealth. He started his career as a clerk and, through sheer ambition and a knack for spotting opportunities, quickly climbed the ladder of high finance. By the 1920s, he was a celebrity businessman. His name was synonymous with success. He controlled a dizzying array of companies, from photo labs to department stores, all under the umbrella of the Hatry Group. People trusted him. When Hatry launched a new company, investors lined up, eager to get a piece of the action. He seemed unstoppable. His public image was impeccable. He lived in a lavish mansion in Mayfair, owned a country estate, a yacht, and even a private swimming pool, a rare luxury at the time. He was a pillar of the community, donating generously to charities. To the outside world, Clarence Hatry was the embodiment of the post-war economic dream. But this dream was built on a foundation of lies. His empire, for all its apparent strength, was dangerously over-leveraged. He was a master of the corporate takeover, buying up companies using borrowed money. But as his ambitions grew, so did his debts. By 1929, he was juggling massive loans and struggling to keep his creditors at bay. He needed a big win, a deal so massive it would solve all his financial problems in one fell swoop. His grand plan was to merge several of Britain's leading steel companies into a single, powerful conglomerate called the United Steel Companies. It was an incredibly ambitious project, one that would require millions of pounds in capital. To finance this, Hatry came up with a bold and deeply illegal scheme. He began issuing fraudulent stock certificates for his existing companies, like Photomaton and Associated Automatic Machines. These were essentially fake shares. He would print far more stock than was actually authorized, creating millions of pounds worth of phantom assets. He then used these forged certificates as collateral to secure massive loans from unsuspecting banks and financial institutions. Think of it like this. Imagine you own a house worth £500,000. You take out a mortgage against it. Then, you print a fake deed for the same house and use it to get another mortgage from a different bank, another, and another. That's essentially what Hatry was doing, but on an industrial scale, with company stocks. His core team, including his right-hand man Edmund Daniels, worked tirelessly, sometimes through the night. Forging signatures and printing these bogus stock certificates, it was a high-stakes, high-pressure operation. They created a complex web of transactions, moving money between dozens of accounts to cover their tracks and maintain the illusion of solvency. So, for a while, it worked. The money kept flowing in, and Hatry was able to keep his empire afloat while he worked on the big steel deal. The plan was audacious, but it was also incredibly risky. The entire house of cards depended on the steel merger going through. If it succeeded, Hatry believed he could use the profits to quietly buy back all the fraudulent stock and pay off the loans, and no one would ever be the wiser. He would walk away an even richer and more powerful man. But, in the summer of 1929, the plan began to unravel. The sheer scale of the forgery was becoming difficult to manage. Rumors started to circulate in the city of London. Lenders grew suspicious when they noticed irregularities with the share certificates they held as collateral. One bank, after getting nervous, tried to officially register the stock they were holding, only to discover it didn't exist. The game was up. On September 20, 1929, the chairman of the London Stock Exchange was alerted to the massive fraud. The exchange was immediately suspended for the first time in its history to prevent a full-blown market panic. The news hit London like a bombshell. Clarence Hatry, the financial wizard, was a fraud. Realizing he was cornered, Hatry and his associates went to the office of Sir Gilbert Garnsey, a respected accountant, and confessed everything. They laid out the entire scheme, the forged shares, the phantom companies, the whole 9 yards. The police were called, and Hatry and his main accomplices were promptly arrested. The fallout was catastrophic. The value of Hatry Group shares plummeted to zero, wiping out the savings of thousands of ordinary investors who had put their faith and their life savings in him. Many were ruined. The collapse triggered a massive crisis of confidence in the London market. Banks that had lent money to Hatry suffered enormous losses, tightening credit across the entire economy. The timing couldn't have been worse. Just 1 month later, in October 1929, the Wall Street crash occurred, plunging the world into the Great Depression. Many historians argue that the Hatry crash was a significant contributing factor. It had already shaken investor confidence to its core, creating a fragile environment that was ripe for a larger collapse. The shockwaves from London rippled across the Atlantic, adding fuel to the fire that was about to consume the global economy. The trial was a media sensation. In January 1930, Clarence Hatry and his 3 key associates stood in the dock at the Old Bailey. The evidence was overwhelming. Hatry pleaded guilty to forgery and fraud. In his defense, he claimed he never intended to steal the money permanently. He argued that he was simply borrowing it and fully intended to pay it all back once his steal merger was complete. He portrayed himself as a man who had been driven to desperate measures by his ambition, not by greed. The judge was not impressed. He sentenced Hatry to 14 years of penal servitude, a harsh sentence for a white-collar crime at the time. His accomplices received lesser sentences. The man who once lived in a palace was sent to prison. Clarence Hatry was eventually released in 1939 after serving 9 years, his health broken. He tried to re-enter the business world, even buying a small bookshop, but he never regained his former status. He passed away in 1965, a shadow of the financial titan he once was. The Hatry scandal left a lasting legacy. It led to major reforms in British company law and stock exchange regulations, designed to prevent such a fraud from ever happening again. Served as a brutal lesson about the dangers of unchecked ambition, speculative bubbles, and the catastrophic consequences when trust in the financial system is broken. The story of Clarence Hatry is a timeless cautionary tale. It shows how easily the line between ambition and crime can be blurred, and how a single individual's actions can bring an entire financial system to the brink of collapse. It's a stark reminder that behind the dazzling numbers of the stock market, there are real people and real consequences. Thanks for watching. If you found this story interesting, please hit the like button, subscribe for more deep dives into history, and let us know in the comments what story you'd like us to cover next. See you in the next video.